Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Jawf in Yemen. Not to be confused with Jawf up in Saudi Arabia. I just covered that yesterday. This is Jawf in Yemen. Now, I'm starting off with the tablet because to be honest, there's not much to show you here in terms of geography. You can see the city of Al-Qasim here, but that's like the only good picture in this slideshow. The landscape here, well, it looks like from above you can see it clearly that it has two very distinct landscapes. We have this side, which is very like Yemen style landscape, like the terrain that I think of when I think of Yemen. I think of very rocky, lots of wadis crisscrossing the area, which are temporary rivers that completely dry up, and then when it rains they flow with water. Very rocky, very barren, not a lot going on just because it's so rocky. The other half we have here is the desert. This is part of the empty quarter, or Rub al-Khali, that dominates southern Saudi Arabia but bleeds into this part of Yemen because we border Saudi Arabia right here. This is called the empty quarter for a reason. It is just sand. It is the largest expanse of sand in the world. Absolutely nothing there. Which when you zoom out and you can see the straight lines of the territory, it makes sense because there's nothing to delineate the border between Saudi Arabia and Yemen. There is nothing there. Which is very beautiful and haunting in a way, right? Many people that live near the empty quarter believe this area is haunted, which, I'm not inclined to disagree. There's definitely some kind of eerie, unsettling presence in a place that's just sand as far as the eye can see, and even farther than that, right? But that is pretty much all that I have to show you for geography on the tablet. So I'm going to wheel this aside so I can show you the map. I tried to delineate the area as best I could so you can kind of see how this area looks compared to the rest of Yemen. It's pretty big because there's not a lot there. It's very, very empty. But let's talk about the history of this region because it has an interesting one. So this area has a very interesting ancient history. This region was part of a kingdom known as Ma'in. The people living there being Marinians, I believe it's pronounced. They would have been in the area between the 10th century BCE up to the year 150 BCE. They were in control of this area. You might have heard of like the Sabaeans and various other kingdoms in Yemen at this time. The Sabaeans, which were more south over here, really suppressed the people that lived here. They were very closely allied with the Hadramaut people who lived more over here. But what led to their very abrupt collapse, and we can pinpoint the exact year, was that they had allied with another kingdom known as Katab, the Capetaeans, that had collapsed. They were more powerful. They weakened, which weakened the kingdoms underneath them, so they very abruptly collapsed civilization. The area, since it is empty, was eventually conquered by the, I believe it was the Abbasids, the expansion of the Abbasid Caliphate, which would have brought Islam into the region, but I'm sure being where it's located in the world that Islam was there before that. But the various caliphates that would have ruled over this area did not do much here because, as you saw, there's nothing here. It is just little farmers and people living in this region over here, just kind of doing their quiet thing that they've been doing for so long. Nothing really has happened in this region until the year 2020, which I know is quite a time skip, but again, nothing is here. Nothing is going on here because it is just sand. Yemen, for the past 10-ish years, has been going through a very devastating civil war. If you have not heard, or if you've not seen any of my other videos about Yemen, essentially what it boils down to at this very moment, that it is the government of Yemen versus a rebel group known as the Houthis. The Yemen government was very, very weak and was starting to also abruptly collapse, which is when this rebel group formed to try to create something different. And they have been slowly making their way across Yemen, conquering as they go. And they captured this area in 2020 and is still under their control. But like I was talking about, I just did Al Baida last week, which is right down here, which is kind of the same story, except people actually live here as opposed to there's actually things here as opposed to up here. It's just sort of, same day, different conquerors. It's been the story of Al Jawf up here in Yemen. People come and go in terms of power and control, but at the end of the day, the people that live here are just quiet people, living their lives, farming the land as best they could, beating the heat, I'm sure, and just living the exact same lives as they've always been living. So the Houthis being in control are a bit concerning. At the end of the day, they are a militant group, who chose violence first for everything. There are negotiations happening between them and Saudi Arabia, which I cannot stress enough is absolutely huge in terms of maybe, fingers crossed, peace talks, and maybe, double fingers crossed, an end to the civil war. I really don't see it happening like next week or this year or even like next year, but there has been a very successful ceasefire. The violence is way toned down, and there might be solutions coming. So hopefully Yemen's history will take a turn for the better, which I'm sure it will at some point, because as we've learned in the history of this region, powers come and go. Yemen always stays pretty much the same as it always has. It has a long, beautiful history that is unshakable with time. It has always remained as it was, no matter what's happened to the government or rebels or anything. You can't really change the core of Yemeni culture. It's always going to be there. So, I know this was a short video, but that's pretty much all that I have for you. I wish there was more I could show you on Google Earth, but again, I can't stress this enough. There's nothing here. There is nothing. You saw it. It is sand. There's nothing else I can show you. So, I mean, maybe something amazing will happen someday, that like infrastructure will build up in one of the towns here and there'll be something cool to show you, but I mean, not anytime soon. Never has. It probably never will. It's probably just going to be same old in this region of Yemen for the rest of time, which is kind of beautiful in a way. So anyway, to wrap up this short little video, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm really trying to stretch this out because I'm thinking about tomorrow's video, which might be even shorter because we are heading up the peninsula to Qatar. If you know your Qatar history, It's kind of the opposite of Yemen, isn't it? That Yemen is so old and time has just stood still for so long that nothing has happened. It's like the opposite of Qatar. Time stood still for so long there until it didn't, and things abruptly changed very, very quickly up there. So, if you enjoyed this kind of content, you're definitely going to enjoy tomorrow's, because unlike this area of Yemen, there are lots of things to show you on Google Earth in Qatar, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. I hope that you found this video relaxing and educational, and I hope that you, yes, you, I can't point at the camera at this angle. I hope that you have a very good night. Good night.